Ooh, baby, I love your way. Hello, and welcome back to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, the podcast where Matt and Todd go see a movie outside our local Regal Cinema Theater, and then we talk about it right after the movie in the parking lot from Matt's Xterra. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And yes, welcome to this episode. In this episode, we saw a movie called Jumanji: The Next Level. Now, this movie is the third Jumanji movie that I'm aware of.
Yes.
There was the first one, which was board game-ish based with Robin Williams in it.
Yes.
And then there was a follow-up, which has The Rock and Kevin Hart and other players.
Correct.
Which is based on a Jumanji video game.
Yes, they bumped up to digital.
Right. And then this is the follow-up to that, which is a direct sequel to the movie with The Rock and Kevin Hart.
Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. I think
Yes. So you got the same cast as that movie. So what is this movie about? Well, it is about people in our normal world who get sucked into a video game. And there's a lot of backstory from the first movie, which, since I didn't see the first movie, I was a little bit, I had to piece things together a little bit. So these people get sucked into a video game, and they assume avatars in the video game. You know, when you play a video game, you're not really playing yourself, you're playing somebody else on the screen. And that is where The Rock and Kevin Hart, the rest of the cast, comes into play, because they are the avatars. So you've got the people inside the video game acting like the people outside the video game.
Yeah.
And so they go on a quest, and all sorts of video game shenanigans ensue. And the idea is they have to finish the quest, beat the game, and then they can be released from the game. So this is the second time this has happened to these people, and so they have some knowledge of how things work. And that's my setup for this episode. What do you think,
As a person
Todd?
who's seen all three movies now, that was a good setup for someone who hasn't seen the original two before going into this one.
That's right.
Before I give my review, we, as in Matt and Todd, wanted to give a shout out to, we have one listener in Spain.
That's right.
And we wanted to give a special shout out to our international listener. Not that we know them or their name or who they are or anything.
But we can tell from the stats that somebody listens to every episode, and it seems like they're subscribed to the podcast. So thank you, Spanish listener. Keep listening.
Yeah. And thank you to all the other listeners too. But
yes,
our international person, we wanted to give them a shout out. So, on to the review. This was not a good movie. It's hard because the first Jumanji is so beloved, I think, and it is a really great movie. I classify the first Jumanji as just one of those special movies that, like, it came out when I was the right age. And Robin Williams was so good in it, and the story is so, like, good. And I've even watched it as an adult, and I still love it. It brings back all those nostalgia feelings, while not, some things you go back and you watch, you're like, that's not as good as I remember it. But this Jumanji holds up to me. So, and the next one, the Kevin Hart Rock one, is not bad, I don't think. My dad hates it, and felt like personally attacked by the people who made it, to be like, I love the original Jumanji so much and this one's a travesty. I'm not there, but I guess I can see how people feel that way. It was okay. It was an interesting next step if you wanted to continue the story of Jumanji. This one, there's nothing really special about it. I think they relied too much on novelties and this idea of different characters playing different characters, and I think they relied heavily on that aspect, that was going to carry you through the movie and make you really care, and the humor of that. And I bought in. I was excited when I saw the trailers for this movie, because I was like, of course I want to see The Rock and Kevin Hart impersonate Danny DeVito and Danny Glover for a whole movie. I was like, that seems hilarious to me and will make me laugh a lot. And the excitement of that wore off real fast with this movie. It's just not a strong story. It's, I mean, The Rock and Kevin Hart did well, I guess, impersonating. It's just, they just relied so heavily on it that it's, within the first 20 to 30 minutes of them doing it, you get kind of sick of it, because it's like all there is. Like, there's not really like a story building or anything like that, or they're not really concentrating on anything else. They are just concentrating on, hey, look at The Rock and Kevin Hart impersonate these other two guys. Isn't that funny? That's going to make this movie successful. Ha 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 ha. And like, you just kind of get burned out on it, and you're not even halfway through the movie. So, yeah, the story's not good. It's not, I don't think it comes across well. I'm not trying to be all bad. I'm trying to find good things to say about it.
I thought it was fairly well, like the world that they operated in was pretty.
Yeah,
It's
there's
nice.
some good shots and there's some good cinematography, I guess. Like, certainly, like, some CGI that's really not that bad, and stuff like that. It just was like, I'm not like in a position of hating the movie. I just really don't think it was good. Like, it just like, all the things that made it special kind of wore off real fast. And then I kind of was left with like, if I had to watch, I would have checked it a lot, I think. So yeah, I don't like to say this because I like to let people make their own decisions, but if you miss this movie, I don't think you're missing anything. And, I highly doubt this is the last one based off of what we've seen. So, I guess that's like a little spoiler, but not like really. I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens, but I don't think they're done. So, yeah. The acting is pretty okay in it. I think Kevin Hart and The Rock do a good job of impersonating the Danny DeVito and Danny Glover. It just is like hammered down your throat and you kind of get tired of it. But they do a pretty good job of it. Jack Black is one of the most interesting parts of the movie to me, because there's a part where people start switching characters, and so he has, like, by the time the movie's over, he's played like 3 or 4 different characters in the movie, so like he had to change how he talked and all that kind of stuff. And on an acting level, that was just interesting to see. I think he did a good job of it. It got a little racy because he's like a black guy trapped in a white guy's body. Like 2019 climate, there were times where I was like, oh, I don't know how this is going to play. Or
So you mean racy, not as in like provocative. You mean racy as in
Yes.
full of race.
Yes.
Race
So
tension.
I don't think they do anything bad or negative with it. It just is like, with the kind of climate we're in and stuff like that, it just was, there were times where I was like, ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just rambling at this point. It was not that great. That's what I'm going to say. Not bad, just not that great.
Yeah. Well, as someone who hadn't seen either of the first 2 movies, there was a lot to be confused about. Overall, I'll agree with you, Todd. It's not a good movie. They may have set it up to have more movies, but I think the box office will dictate that this is the last one.
I don't see this one, doing it. I don't even think that's not true. I think the first Rock one actually did a lot of money now that I think about it. But yeah. At this point, we've seen Kevin Hart and The Rock in so many different movies that the novelty of them working together has also worn off. So it's like, who knows? Anyway, this is your time. I yield the floor.
Thank you. The gentleman yields back. So I think I think I would have felt better about it if I knew what had happened in especially the movie right before this, because there's so many relationship things that are alluded to and built upon that I was just like, well, I guess I can figure out what has happened, but it wasn't easy. Definitely recommend you see at least the second Jumanji.
Sure.
With The Rock.
Strongly
Kevin
agree.
Hart.
By the way, strongly agree.
Like I said, it was a nice little pretty world that they were operating inside of the video game. There was a couple sort of fun like video game things where they had their stats pop up, which I think happens in the first one too. But kind of neat little nods for gamers like me. But yeah, overall, the story wasn't very good, and I agree with you, Todd. They relied just on really people acting like other people, which I guess is a staple of the movie, but it seemed like that was all they had.
Sure.
And one thing that I'm always a little wary of is when they put the funny jokes in the trailer.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the movie, and that's all there was, and they weren't that funny. But I was like, found myself waiting. Oh, here's a joke that I know is coming up, for some I don't know comfort as I watched this not great movie. So anyway, overall not great. Wouldn't recommend it. If you do go see it, make sure you've watched at least the second Jumanji film.
Yeah, you don't need to see the first one to enjoy this one. This one doesn't connect to the first one at all. The middle one kind of does a little bit. They do at least a nod to the original. And the original is just completely different. Like, they're just very different movies. I mean, they're still like action-adventure movies. But, yeah. So how many The Rock bulging veins out of his arms would you give this movie?
Well, I feel like if I had seen the other movie, I might have given it like 1.5 Rock bulging veins. But since I hadn't, they didn't help me out a lot. So I'm gonna give it 1 Rock bulging vein.
Yeah. See, I'm going to say the opposite. I don't know if I actually mean that. I'm the opposite because I've seen the second one that leads into this one. It makes me dislike this one more. Because the second one is like it's kind of like about character empowerment. It's like these characters grow a little bit and stuff like that. And in this one, the main character, who's Spencer, basically regresses to the last movie. For no for no real reason. And you're just like, what's the point? What was the whole point of the previous movie to get you from A to B if you're just going to end back up at A? Like, I hate that stuff. If this was a show, I'd say the show jumped the shark. But it's a movie. Franchise. The movie franchise jumped the shark.
There you have it.
So I'm going to go with like a nice... oh, gosh. Yeah, what did you say, 1?
I said 1.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna agree 1. I'm gonna go with you on that one. Yeah.
There you go.
So
there you have it. There's our joint review of Jumanji: The Next Level. We both gave it 1 Rock bulging arm vein.
Yeah.
And we don't recommend you see it. Don't waste your time. So thanks for listening to this episode. And
I hope it was informative.
I hope it was informative, and please listen again next time.
Da 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 da.